CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
You guys keep up the good work, man. Podcasts are the way of the future.
Welcome in, everybody, to the latest edition of Doc and Jock. I got a feeling this podcast is going to be a good one. Look, like everybody else, we have to pile on to Michigan. It's the greatest week ever. I mean, when we were previewing Michigan, Wisconsin, everybody thought it was going to be a loss, but not a loss like that. So we got to break it down. I know Adam is pissed. I know that he's been waiting all week long to break it all down, and I can't wait to bring him on and just let him have the floor because, look, everybody's piling on. Chris Spielman, all the fans, national media, local media, fans, everybody's not happy this week. Probably one of the toughest weeks of coaching that Jim Harbaugh has probably ever had to go through. So with that said, I'm going to bring him to the main stage and let him go. My cousin, Adam the Jock Strozinski. Cuz, how you feeling?
Did you see what Charles Woodson's face looked like at halftime?
Oh.
That's what I looked like on Saturday. All freaking day on Saturday. It was absolute trash. Michigan's performance against Wisconsin was trash. They were outcoached. They were outperformed. Michigan looked like hot garbage. I'm so over the Harbaugh experience. This is year 5, man. Year 5. You got your quarterbacks. The one can't hold on to the damn ball. The other one gets decapitated every time in a big game. All right, so you got your players. I don't want to hear that, we need more time. Your O-line is absolute trash. You got bullied off the ball all game long. Your defense can't stop anything. I think Jonathan Taylor is still running for touchdowns right now. He hasn't stopped. He's been going since last Saturday. This is insane. This is honestly, I sat down today and I went through the schedule and I looked over everything. Michigan will be lucky if they finish 6-6. This is year 5 of Jim Harbaugh, and you're going to finish 6-6. Your offensive coordinator has no clue how to run an offensive game plan. No clue. At best, he is a positional head coach. He is no offensive coordinator. Don Brown, your defensive coordinator, the guy that everybody was praising 2 or 3 years ago, Don Brown has been exposed. You can run crossing routes on Don Brown's defense all day long, and guess what? You're going to score. You're going to score because that defense can't adjust. This is embarrassing. If you're a Michigan fan, you should be embarrassed. You should be pissed off. You should want Harbaugh's head on a stake in your front yard. This is crap. You need to expect more, demand more. You should be getting more. You're 5, people. You're 5. You're 5. He has all his people.
Yes.
He has all of his guys. These are his guys. He did better coming in and taking over for freaking Puffin stuff and getting this team to actual bowl games and winning bowl games. This is unfreaking real right now. Unreal.
28-0 at halftime in a half where I thought that Michigan came out and looked like they had no hope and no clue as to how to play against Wisconsin. 28-0 at halftime, one of the worst scores and worst halves of football I think I've seen in a long time.
You turn the ball over 4 times, and you can't stop this team to save your life. You get the ball, and it's basically 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, or it's a turnover. It was unreal. The first half was disgusting. I wanted to punch myself in the junk. It was abysmal. I feel like such a freaking stooge coming onto this show and telling everybody how special Michigan was going to be. Yeah, they're special, all right. They're special. But guess what? They're special, and it ends with Ed. These guys are awful. Awful. This team is brutal. No, absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. This season is absolute shit. And we're what? We're 3 games in? We're 3 games in? Cool. You're going to take on Rutgers this week. You better win. You better win. And I've got some really funny stats for you when we get to talking about what's going to take place this week. Because if you think Michigan's a high and mighty program, you are sadly mistaken, Michigan fan. You are sadly mistaken because they are not. They absolutely are not. They are one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, and I've got some stats to back it up. So you just wait. You sit in your chair, and you just wait for me to pump that knowledge into your little brain. You stupid, stupid Michigan fans. Disgust me. Absolutely disgust me. Michigan is absolutely horrible. Horrible this season. This is insane. I am so angry at this team.
Yeah.
I'm so angry at Harbaugh because what are you making $7+ million for? Your job is to go out and recruit. Cool. You get a 4- and 5-star kid in here, and they're supposed to be the creme de la creme, yet you can't coach them up. Why are you here? How did you get this far? You were looking for your Andrew Luck. Honestly, at this point, I think the reason that Andrew Luck was Andrew Luck, it wasn't because of Harbaugh. He wasn't a QB whisperer. No, Andrew Luck was Andrew Luck because he was Andrew Luck. Same thing with Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick was Colin Kaepernick because he was Colin Kaepernick. You know, Alex Smith showed you he's a decent quarterback. The problem with Alex Smith was every single year he had a brand new offensive coordinator. So it's really hard to grasp the terminology when it's constantly changing on you. And on top of that, Alex Smith's teams were usually pretty horrible. He goes to San Francisco. Harbaugh comes in, and everything seems to kind of work out because that team, that offensive line, was actually really good. So Alex Smith became a pretty solid player. You know, Colin Kaepernick steps in. He's actually a pretty solid player. It wasn't Harbaugh. Harbaugh wasn't a QB whisperer. No. These guys did what they did because they were good players. Harbaugh just happened to get lucky to have them. Honestly, go back and look at Harbaugh's career. Look at his playing career when he was at Michigan. Look at his NFL career. Then look at his coaching career. Honestly, if it wasn't for certain elite athletes like, I don't know, Andrew Luck, Colin Kaepernick, his career would be abysmal. He was garbage in the NFL. He wasn't a very good quarterback. When he was at Michigan, he was kind of a hotshot. Cool. What did they ever really win? They never really won anything. He comes to Michigan. He's never won anything. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Honestly, he leaves to go to San Francisco, and David Shaw gets that team to a Rose Bowl. You know what I'm saying? And hey, Michigan State jail sexes them, and it was a great victory for Michigan State. But who gets them to the promised land? It wasn't Jim Harbaugh. Honestly, in big games, Harbaugh can't coach. It's like his brain shuts down.
0-7 when the Wolverines have been an underdog. 0-7. That means that unless you guys are playing cupcakes, if you face any sort of adversity, you don't come through. Now it's a pattern. Now it's a situation where the coach is heavily scrutinized, heavily under fire, and I think for the first time, because of the nature of how Michigan lost, the fan base has said, whoa, they're now starting to entertain the notion that maybe, just maybe, Jim Harbaugh is not the guy. Are you, cuz, just off the bandwagon completely? Are you saying, look, I don't believe anymore, it's done, you don't care if you wallop Rutgers and play these teams that you're supposed to beat, you know in your heart of hearts that when Michigan faces any adversity, when Ohio State does come to town, it's probably going to be a bad result. Are you off the bandwagon? Are you done? Are you ready to move on?
I'm done with Harbaugh. I am absolutely done with Jim Harbaugh. I don't want him as Michigan's head coach. Honestly, if I was Ward Manuel, and it's a good thing I'm not because I'm just a little bit too emotional. If I was Ward Manuel, I would have walked into that locker room and I'd been like, Jim, let's go, your office right now. And we would have had a really long talk. And I would have told him, look, man, you're done after this season. I'd have let him go out the way he wants to go out at the end of the season. I'd be like, you're done, though. Like, we are not doing this anymore because there's no way, honestly, there's no way you're beating Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to come into your house and they're going to freaking pound you. Michigan State, there's no way you're beating Michigan. They're going to come into your house and they're going to pound you, okay? Because this offense looks like Village of the Poor. It has no idea. There's no rhyme or reason to it. You look at Ohio State. Look at what Ohio State is doing. Ohio State is disgusting right now. Ohio State is going to crush you. They are going to crush you. You are beating none of your rivals. You went to Wisconsin. Wisconsin housed you. You had the ball for less than 7 minutes that first half. It's brutal. It's horrible. This team is trash. Absolute trash. Your head coach, he is trash. Your offensive coordinator is a freaking idiot. And we're going to talk about how he got hired because Jim Harbaugh, you're a boob. You're an absolute moron. You look at Don Brown. Don Brown's not special anymore, people. Don Brown was special for about a season and a half. And then everybody figured him out. And you know what? He can't adjust. And the problem with a coach who can't adjust is their term is short term. That's what that deal is. So Don Brown probably going to be looking for a new job next year, going to be going back to one of the MAC schools or one of them lower division schools because you can't get it done in the Big Ten. Honestly, can we talk about how Gaddis was hired? Can we talk about it? Because the Athletic wrote an article, and Yahoo Sports picked it up and ran with it. And you sent the link to me, and you're like, your head's going to explode. And I honestly wanted to throw my phone through the TV. I was so upset. Jim Harbaugh sits down and makes a phone call to the I think he was a co-offensive coordinator at Alabama, or he was like the passing coordinator, some BS position with Alabama. Calls the guy to have a 20-minute phone conversation. And Jim's like, cool, I'm going to hire you. We're going to get this done. Mind you, Nick Saban, you know the guy who wins like all the stuff in college football? The guy who wins all the championships unless Dabo Swinney's kicking his ass? You know that guy? That guy could have promoted this guy, but he was like, no, because this dude don't know what he's doing. On top of that, Nick Saban could have prevented Harbaugh from hiring him. You know, if Nick Saban really thought Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines were a threat, he wouldn't have let Gaddis go. He could have blocked it and prevented his hiring at Michigan. And he could have promoted him to his own staff to be his own offensive coordinator. But he was like, no, I'm good. Go ahead. You can get out of here because you don't know what you're doing. Jim Harbaugh hires this guy off of a 20-minute phone call. Doesn't bring him in, doesn't go over play calling, doesn't go over terminology, doesn't have a dry erase board where he has X's and O's and he's like, here, draw me something. Let's discuss it. Do you realize I went through a harder and a tougher interview process to get hired to be an assistant manager at a fitness facility than Gaddis got to be the offensive coordinator at a prestigious university, one of the best in the Big Ten, and so Michigan fans will have you believe. Do you understand this, Michigan fan? Do you understand the BS, the hypocrisy that is Jim Harbaugh? Absolute trash and an absolute abysmal hiring in Gaddis. And honestly, at this point, Jim Harbaugh is an absolute abysmal hiring at Michigan. You will win nothing. You will win absolutely zero with Jim Harbaugh as your head coach. He gets outcoached every chance he gets. Every big game, he shoots himself in the foot. His teams come out ill-prepared. This game right here, these guys look like they had no idea what was going on. They were getting steamrolled. Before they could even blink, it was 14-0. And they were like, what just happened? And nobody could adjust. Nobody could figure anything out. Gaddis can't run an offense, and you can see it because Shea Patterson has no clue what the hell is going on. You put in McCaffrey. McCaffrey gets killed. Honestly, I like McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey's got a ton of potential. I really do. Dude is a little bit too slender of a build, honestly. Breaks his collarbone in the Penn State game after taking a hard hit. Got his head rocked in this game. And, yeah, it was targeting. And, yeah, he got his head ripped off, and he bounced it off the freaking turf. I get it. But come on, man. You got to take care of yourself. If you're a quarterback, you got to protect yourself. You can't put yourself in positions like that. He gets killed. You've got nobody because I don't know what Milton is. What is Milton? Why are you going to put Shea Patterson back out there? Patterson couldn't do anything in the first half, right? So you switch to McCaffrey. McCaffrey goes down, and then you're going to play Patterson again? He didn't do anything. Obviously, he didn't do nothing. The reason you scored 14 points was because Wisconsin was like, cool, this game's in the bag. We got this. And they were waving the white flag. Honestly, it took until late in the third quarter for you to put some digits on the board because it was like punt, 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 turnover, punt, punt. Maybe we'll score a touchdown. It made no sense. It was horrible. Put Milton, see what you got. Why not? What do you have to lose? This game's already out of hand. It didn't matter. Again, bad coaching by your Lord and Savior, the almighty Jim Harbaugh. This team is disgusting, John. It is disgusting. I look at Michigan State. Michigan State had a really bad loss against Arizona State, all right? And we laughed about it. It was kind of funny. It was kind of sad. It was weird. It was a mix of emotions, right? It was nuts. All that being said, I didn't look at Mark D'Antonio and I was like, God, that guy can't coach. He's horrible at his job. No. I looked at Mark D'Antonio and I was like, you are way too loyal to some of these boobs you got on your coaching staff. Whereas Jim Harbaugh, honestly, I don't believe he can coach. I don't think he knows what the hell is going on. It makes absolutely no sense to me right now.
Yeah, because the biggest struggle you have is when you look at it now deeply on a deeper level, the talent doesn't match the scheme. And that's why I think that was one of the reasons why going into this game I said I don't think that Michigan versus Wisconsin is going to be that easy. I don't think it's going to be a contest that Michigan can compete in is because of the fact that, you know, you guys are trying to run a different offense, but you got these linemen that are big dudes, and you got talent that I'm not sure just yet knows how to run with speed and space. I mean, aren't you guys a little surprised that at this point in time that the amount of deep throws just isn't there? The offense looks stale, and it doesn't look like the offense is one in which it doesn't look anything like what I've seen in Alabama. I mean, you have talented wide receivers. It doesn't seem like you guys are utilizing them the right way. And I'm definitely certain that you have thoughts on that Ben Mason handoff. I'm almost certain that when you saw that, you were like, they did not just do that at that spot. Because I highlighted it. I said right then and there, I put Ben Mason. Here's my notes. I'm looking at it right now. I put Ben Mason cause it's going off.
Yeah. I was like, what are you doing? Like, how is that going to help you? What are we doing here? None of it made sense. Going back to your first point about the wide receivers and this team and the offense that they're running. You've got three NFL caliber wide receivers on this team. Shea Patterson can't throw a ball deep to save his life. He can't hit anybody with any accuracy. And I don't know necessarily if it's the linemen are a wrong fit for this team, but what I'll say is the offensive line has put this team in bad spots time and time again. And whether it's because of the type of offense that they're trying to run, or if it is just because the guys aren't a right fit for the scheme, or whatever it is, the offensive line has hurt this team. You have a running back who looks like he is a legitimate Big Ten running back, yet in big games you struggle to run the ball. You've got a quarterback who can't hold on to the ball. He does the read option all wrong, holds on to the ball too long, or he fumbles the ball. You've got another quarterback who looks like he can do some things, really does. He's getting pounded. He sits back in the pocket and he buys as much time as he possibly can for his wide receivers to get open, lets the ball go, and then he takes a shot. Then he takes a shot, and he gets a lick and just gets blown up. Dude, it's unreal. And the Ben Mason handoff, I just didn't what are we doing for play calling here? Why would you do that? It didn't make sense. You know, you don't know what the hell you're doing, and it's pretty damn obvious at this point. This is nuts, man. I'm so frustrated with this team and where they're at and where they're projecting to go.
Absolutely, cuz absolutely, you have every right to be. And now, like I said, here's the tough part now is that everybody's piling on. You know, you have nationally a national host, Charles Woodson. He's like, I'm embarrassed. I can't believe this is happening.
Dude,
I can't believe this is
face?
What's going on. I can't believe
that.
Chris Spielman is like, he came out on Wednesday and he dropped a hammer. He said, look, the running back, the quarterback, they're not elite. And at Michigan, the standard has to be high. You can't go out there and put guys like Shea Patterson and a running back that is not elite. That's what he's saying. People are saying that, you know, of course, some of the stories are outlandish, like that Jim Harbaugh's on Zoloft or that he's mentally worn out and things like that. But whatever, you know, your viewpoint is on the Michigan program, that game, not because they lost. Look, let's be clear. It's because you were dominated. It's because in year 5, no coach should be ever dominated like that.
Yeah, it was how you lost.
It's how you lost. So now the question is, what's next?
3 quarters.
What's next?
Dude, you're going to go 6-6 this year. Honestly, if you are in charge of the Michigan football program, you need to look at getting the next head coach in here because this is unacceptable. Honestly, it's unacceptable for this team to go into Wisconsin and get blown up like they did. And it's unacceptable for your head coach to make over $7 million a year and not be able to beat his rivals regularly. You've never beat Ohio State. You are, 50-50 with Michigan State. You are, 0-1 with Notre Dame? This is nuts, man. You can't beat your rivals, and you get embarrassed every time you turn around in a big game. If you are in charge of the Michigan football program, and I'm talking to you, Ward Manuel, I am talking to you right now. I am begging you, get off of Jim Harbaugh's jock and go find a head coach who knows what the hell he's doing and can win games in the Big Ten and possibly get this team and get this university to a college football playoff so you can then be embarrassed by an actual big dog like Alabama or Clemson, or I don't know, pick any other SEC school who's going to depants you because you're freaking Michigan and that's what you do. Because, hey, you got to be a Michigan man. Did you see how Twitter reacted when this was going on? Oh, let's go get Les Miles. Shut the hell up. Go get Les Miles. Bro, come on. Les Miles got ran out of LSU. He's hanging out in Kentucky right now or Kansas? I don't know, one of the K-states. In the SEC. Get the hell out of here. Are you serious right now? The dude eats grass. I love Les Miles. I think he's crazy. But Les Miles wasn't a great coach. He wasn't. He was like the Southern Jim Harbaugh is basically what he was. You need to go out there. You need to get a guy who knows what the hell he's doing with offense and can revolutionize this team, honestly. Go out there, get a guy who has an understanding on how you need big, strong guys to just bum rush quarterbacks on defense and stop this whole, I don't know, we're going to send everybody on an all-out blitz and we don't play any zone because we don't know how. Everything is man. Cool, Don Brown. Cool. You know what, though? Crossing patterns pick you apart all the damn time. So I think you got to change what you're doing. You got to flip the script, homie, because it's not good and it's not looking good. This team is so frustrating, and there are so many holes. Jim Harbaugh is not and should not be the coach next year. Honestly, if you really want to get super serious about it, Jim Harbaugh, after they lose to Iowa, he should not be the head coach after the loss to Iowa. Wow. Dude, I don't know what else to tell you. It's so frustrating as a Michigan fan. It's unreal. unreal. Can we talk about this week and how you're going to take on Rutgers? Can I give you some information about your Michigan football program and kind of how it matches up to Rutgers? Because honestly, it's a little embarrassing because everybody's like, oh, it should be a bounce back game against Rutgers. It's Rutgers. Rutgers isn't any good. And for the most part, you're kind of right. Rutgers isn't very good, but neither is Michigan. These teams are so similar. Both programs don't run or pass the ball well on offense, nor do they stop the run or the pass very well. And honestly, this game looks like it could be a shootout. Like first to 100 is going to win. Honestly, Michigan has better athletes, but those athletes have been manhandled by lesser athletes the last couple weeks. So what are we really talking about here? You go back to the Army game. All right, those are service academy cadets, guys who basically were in high school and were like, yeah, man, I like playing football. Football's cool. I'm gonna go to the Army though. And then when you're at the service academy, they're like, hey, we're holding tryouts for football. Anybody want to come out and join this team? And the one kid was like, yeah, I used to play a little bit in high school. We weren't very good. I think our high school team, I don't know, went 0-10. So yeah, I'll go try out. We'll see what happens. And these are basically the guys that your 5-star athletes for Michigan are playing against and are getting dominated by because the coaching is heads and tails that much better. Let me give you some stats at how Rutgers and Michigan match up because this is bananas. This is banana boats. Points per game. Rutgers just over 21, while Michigan's at 26. That's pretty close. I don't know if you know it or not, but that's pretty close. Points allowed per game. Rutgers allows 27, while Michigan allows just under 26. Passing yards. Rutgers, 233 to Michigan's 237. Rushing yards per game. 120 for Rutgers, 127 for Michigan. Are you seeing the comparison here? Michigan is just slightly better than Rutgers, and Rutgers is abysmal. Let's go take a look at that defense. Rutgers, through the air, allows almost 175 yards, while Michigan allows 135. Rushing yards. Rutgers allows 218, while Michigan allows a shade under 209. These two programs are almost identical, guys. Almost identical. The only difference is the mascot and the color scheme. That's it. And think about that. As a Big Ten fan, you talk about trading Rutgers and Maryland in all the time to get something of worth. Rutgers is Michigan. That's what it is right now. Rutgers is Michigan. Michigan is Rutgers. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Rutgers is Michigan. Michigan is Rutgers. The program has fallen so far. Like, this is Brady Hoke levels of where we're at right now. And some people might think I'm being hyperbolic or maybe I'm just kind of off the deep end here. But tell me, what have you seen that you can latch onto and you can say, yeah, there's some promise here. It's year 5, guys. This was supposed to be the year. Last year was technically supposed to be the year. This year, you were supposed to come back with a vengeance. You were supposed to have all of Harbaugh's guys. You were supposed to have your offensive coordinator who was supposed to revolutionize your play calling. You have no identity on offense. Like, what are you? Are you a run team? Are you a pass team? Are you somewhere in the middle? Like, what are you? You have no idea what you are. Your defensive coordinator, the guy who everybody praised and was like, we got to sign this guy to a lifelong extension because he's so damn good. This guy's getting picked apart every single week. It's insane. Ohio State exposed Don Brown to the highest level. And after that, everybody was like, cool, we got this all day. We'll just take this to the bank, baby. Just count on it. Rutgers and Michigan are the same exact program. It's going to be a shootout on Saturday because both teams are freaking horrible. Honestly, this is abysmal. Abysmal.
Man, I don't know if we've ever talked 30 minutes about Michigan in this manner. And I just think that the fan base has now awoken. They're definitely going to pay attention, not only to games like Rutgers. They're over that. They're ready to see Michigan perform in big games and play a lot better. Is it going to happen? A lot of the fan base does not believe it's going to happen. And I think it's incumbent upon Jim Harbaugh to change some things, and whatever that's going to look like, whether it be changing the quarterback, figuring out how to properly utilize the talent, figuring out that, hey, you got to figure out, how to rally everybody together and fight for a common cause, whether you got to look back on recruiting and find different type of athletes and really fight for a much better type of athlete. Whatever's going on, a lot of news is coming out, and a lot of it's been sour, talking about how people view Shea Patterson, that there's inner struggles, that potentially speaking relatives are, disgruntled and things like that. This kind of thing can never be good for the Michigan program, and it's just got to be corrected, period. It's got to be a lot better, especially now in year 5. It's year 5. Some goals have to be met. You have a fair right to be upset and frustrated because of the fact that, hey, it's been 5 years. Now it's been 15 years since Michigan has been really relevant in college football. So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens the rest of the season. I don't think they're going to go and lose 6 games, but like I said, 3 to 4 losses definitely in the mix. Like you said, Iowa, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan State. That schedule is brutal. And then you got to play Ohio State, which, man, whoever they're playing, I know they're playing cupcakes. They're still steamrolling those cupcakes, and they look good. Doesn't seem like that train has slowed down at all. Let's switch gears quickly here and talk about Michigan State, because obviously we didn't really have a strong chance to talk about the Arizona State loss and things like that. I'll say this, okay? It's kind of fascinating when you're a State supporter and you see how bad they played versus Arizona State, and then they turn around just that quickly and they put forth a performance that was really high quality versus Northwestern. And Northwestern had a decent offense. So, you sit here, you scratch your head and you go, great. Now, you have a football team where we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know which offense is going to show up. And I guess that makes it more entertaining. But I'll say this, give credit to Mark D'Antonio for rallying the troops, going on the road and winning and defeating Northwestern. They played well in a lot of facets of the game. Maybe they now have figured out, okay, we got our running back, we got Brian Lewerke, and just like anything else, how the Spartans perform is really how Brian Lewerke does. When he looks sharp, when he looks active, when that offense is moving, hey, you got yourself a football team. So, hey, if the Michigan State Spartans are going to play like that, we'll take it. But the problem is, can they dial it up week in, week out? So that's the biggest question I see. It's a good quality win. Obviously, it puts Mark D'Antonio in first place all time in terms of wins as a coach for Michigan State, 110. Kudos to him. But at the same time, it's problematic because, this week comes on the heels of a deposition that was released publicly last week where Curtis Blackwell finally had his day in court and he gets deposed. And unfortunately, there's now more scandal where he comes out in a deposition, and the word is that he told coaches, he told D'Antonio specifically, hey, don't take this guy. The coaches don't want him on here. He's probably a bad guy. One of the coaches says, hey, I don't want my daughters around him. Does this player get kicked off the team? Is he somebody that's let go? No. They still brought him on the team. They still had this player, and then that player went on to, cause some problems and engage in sexual misconduct. So, it's a tough thing around the program where it's like 2 steps forward, 4 steps back when you're looking at Michigan State. It's a tough thing all the way around, and it's not right. I was hoping that the program would turn the page, but unfortunately this whole Curtis Blackwell saga was brought back up again, so it makes it really, really tough. And so you sit here and you go, man, the program in terms of football may not be the cleanest. There's still maybe some things they got to kind of iron out. But I'm sitting here confused because I'm not so certain what's the best option for this team, whether the Spartans should they execute and try to be a running team, or should they just say, okay, let's just finally commit to the pass. Lewerke can do it. We have talent. We got a tight end. We got wide receivers. We got the ability to pass the ball. I'm not so certain what kind of team this is.
Dude, I'm baffled by what kind of team this is. I mean, obviously, Michigan State has a great defense that is going to help carry this team. But on offense, you want to talk about not having an identity. It's so bipolar because one week you're going to try to run the ball 100 times. The next week you're going to try to throw the ball 100 times. And it's like which offense is going to break through? And, yeah, this week against Northwestern, the pass game worked to perfection. So whatever the game plan was, it was outstanding. The week prior, though, Michigan State couldn't move the ball to save their life. I have no idea what kind of team this is. I don't know. As a Michigan State fan, can you answer this? Can you answer me this? Who do you trust? Do you trust Lewerke and the pass game, or do you trust the offensive line and the running backs and trying to pound the rock? Because I'm confused. I don't know who to believe. I don't know who to trust here. And if just as a guy who's watching this unfold every single week, I have no idea what this team is, and that's frustrating. As we're 4 games in now, we're going into game 5, and I still have no clue what the identity of this team is.
The identity is a team that's hardworking, that's a defensive team that definitely pressures the football.
Okay, but on offense, what are they? Offensively, what are they?
Okay.
I mean,
unfortunately,
honestly, that defense is elite. Let's just put it out there. That defense is elite.
Defense is elite. Offense, unfortunately, I think the way that, I guess when you observe that it's week to week, that's what they're doing is they're scheming for their opponent, and we don't know. Week to week, if the game plan calls for the opportunity to run the ball, that's what they'll do. If the opportunity calls for it to pass the ball, that's what they'll do. And that's, I think, the problem is that they're going with this notion of, hey, we'll try and execute the best game plan possible, and it's about execution. It's not about an identity. It's about whatever we tell you to do, you better go out and execute it. And if you don't, then you're going to look like how you did against Arizona State.
Right, but I get that. But how does
should
that
it be?
happen?
Yeah, how
does that happen? Because, look, honestly, Michigan State should have beat Arizona State. Should have beat the pants off them, especially coming off of that Western Michigan game. You should have had things kind of worked out and figured out a little bit. You go into that Arizona State game, and you can't get out of your own way, and you can't put up any points.
Yeah, no doubt. But I just think that the coaching staff really wants to control the game through the run. They really ideally want to be a running team. But unfortunately, there's times where the opponent's defense can stop it. So I really think that Michigan State is intended, the ideal A-plus goal is to be a running team, to control the game and to control turnovers by running it. But when it's not successful, then they go to plan B, which is, hey, pass when needed, try to use the skills of Lewerke to make plays. That's probably where it's at, is that they want to be a run team, but at the same time, it's hard to execute, because defenses can now, in the NFL and in college, they stack 8 men in the box, they get pressure, and if that offensive line is having an off day or is not making plays, then the running game suffers. But I'll say this, if Michigan State wanted to be up-tempo and wanted to run a different kind of offense, you start to see some skilled players that potentially could do it. But, the offensive staff is stubborn.
But here's the thing. This is kind of, when I look at this team, this is what I see. I see a team that this season believes in its quarterback, right? They trust Brian Lewerke, which is great because last season was an absolute mess. You have really solid wide receivers. You have an offensive line that can buy you some time. I don't think your offensive line is great. You also have running backs that I think are okay. I mean, going into the season, the biggest question mark on this team was the offensive line and the running backs. So why would you trust your game plan, and why would you put the ball and the entire game in the hands of your offensive line and your running backs when you know your quarterback is more trustworthy and you believe in him more, and you've got solid to very good wide receivers? I don't know why you wouldn't just trust the pass game more and use that to get by. Lean on your defense. Your defense is going to help you win games all day long. That offense just can't shoot you in the foot. So lean on what is good to very good and try to mitigate what is maybe average. Because I think your running game right now is still trying to figure itself out and find itself. So I just don't understand why you would trust it.
Makes sense. Going forward, man, it might be the closest contest October 5th. Michigan State, Michigan. It might be a battle to 14. It literally might be a battle to 14 where both squads are not trying to win it, but who tries to lose it the least,
Right.
Who it might be a game where it's played in between the 20s. First touchdown wins. That's where we're at. That's where we're at, these two squads.
I think you might be right.
Okay, before we move on and talk about the Detroit Lions to finish off the podcast, I'll ask you this. All right, in 2 years, if there's only one coach left, is it D'Antonio or Harbaugh in 2 years?
D'Antonio.
For sure? You don't see it.
Yeah.
You don't see a scenario where Harbaugh's here for another 700 days. It's done. It's winding down.
Yeah. Harbaugh has failed at every opportunity he's been given. And here's the thing. I think Michigan State loves Mark D'Antonio, and I think Mark D'Antonio loves Michigan State. I think if things don't work out for Mark Antonio this year, I think that's his cold bucket of water. And he's like, all right, cool. I've got to do some things different. It would really help if Michigan State would give him a little bit more money so he could go out and hire better coordinators and not just his boys. But it is what it is. I think D'Antonio will be here longer than Jim Harbaugh.
Okay, let's take our first time out. Show love to the sponsors. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions, undefeated as we record this podcast, ending the podcast on a high note, and we're talking about the Lions, so that's always a surprise there. The reason why we're able to keep the lights on and the microphones hot here in our Sterling Heights studios is because we got a ton of great sponsors. And the two sponsors of this week's podcast are the Motor City Pawnbrokers and the Flick Chat application. The Motor City Pawnbrokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're in need of short-term cash or are looking for quality brand name new and pre-owned merchandise. With locations in Detroit, Ferndale, Roseville, and Warren, their mission is to deliver exceptional value. Today, head on over and check out MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. That's MotorCityPawnbrokers.com to learn all about the great deals that are available at the locations. Mark and the crew, they take pride in providing great customer service for anybody that walks into one of their locations. Definitely go and check them out. A great sponsor of the network, the Motor City Pawnbrokers. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we've said in regards to Michigan, if you're thinking, man, another group of guys that are hating on the Wolverines, if you're one of the people that tweeted us and said one of the worst things about Michigan is not the coaches, it's the fan base, head on over to Flick Chat and let us know. What's Flick? It's a great group chat application. All you got to do is go to your favorite app store, download Flick Chat, and within moments, you're going to be entered into Detroit Sports' newest headquarters where we debate, have fun, tell jokes, share links, and if you want, you can also download your favorite podcast. Really, the Flick Chat is a great place to go and really engage in fun group conversation. I think the Detroit group is really fun during wrestling events, during the games. I mean, man, talk about long threads. During that Michigan game, I would write one sentence, and the fellas, they would light it up. It's a fun place to go. If you're into sports debates, it's a great group forum. Detroit Sports News Headquarters, the Flick Chat application.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. We put it down. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Yeah. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
All right, cuz, rarely do the Detroit Lions, when they're faced with the opportunity to go on the road, take advantage of a team that's injured, and come away with the victory. It was tight. There were times when we all thought that the Lions were going to lose, especially after that blocked field goal. You're like, oh boy, here we go. Here's the moment. But finally, the Lions have turned the page a little bit. They clamped down, and they ended up defeating the Eagles. I thought it was a great game, and I think you and I are in the same boat where we're like, who the fuck are these Lions? Who are these guys out there that are coming out and winning these games, starting off the year 2-0-1? I think it's a good start, and we'll take it, no doubt about it. The Lions are playing well, and it's nice to see that, hey, they're able to respond to some adversity in these games when the opponent kind of comes back. The Lions come back, and maybe, just maybe, you're starting to see, I don't know if you're watching and checking out some of the sights and sounds, Stafford's kind of lighting it up a little bit. He said prior to the Eagles game, he was like, I love it. It's us against the world. Us against the world. Let's go out there. He's lighting it up a little bit. Patricia postgame lighting it up, saying, hey, this is the NFL. This is what it's like. You know, enjoy it. And then having that touching moment with the assistant offensive line coach. So I'm liking to see wins. Hey, cuz I didn't even know this. It was revealed in one of the Matt Patricia pressers. First time, cuz, since 2011, the Lions have gone in their first 3 games with no losses. 8 years! Cuz the entire time we've done this podcast, within the first 3 weeks, we were talking about a loss. It's crazy. Listen, I appreciate it this week. I appreciate the positivity. And look, I'll take some credit. Maybe, just maybe, the Lions were just waiting for the star podcaster to show up there and cover him, the guy who helped break the curse, to play well. Could you imagine? They get their first playoff win the first year I'm covering them. The guy that went down to Detroit, went down to some unforeseen place, went to a church with George Lopez, filmed some ceremony to end the curse, and he finally covers the team and they have success, look, I'll take all the credit. No doubt about it, right?
Yeah, you would. Of course you would.
It's all me, baby. Hey, the vibe has been good. The vibe has been good. We're not talking about losses yet. I think we're going to talk about one next week, but I do. If you go into the bye week 2-1-1, I think most would have taken it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. After that tie in Arizona, we were talking about being 0-5-1.
Yeah.
So where we're at now, we'll take it all day long. This game specifically, I think everybody's butthole got a little bit tight after the blocked field goal, and we're like, cool, they're going to figure out a way to blow this game. Because as a Lions fan, that's what you're conditioned. That's how you've been raised. That's what it is. They find and they invent brand new ways to lose games. It's just what it is. So going into this game or going into that moment, you're like, cool, they're going to blow this. It's going to be what it is. But no, they didn't. They figured out a way to win. And I think this was probably their most complete game. Let's look at Matt Stafford specifically. Matt Stafford didn't have a great game. He didn't set the world on fire or light anything up, but he played controlled. He did what he had to do. He protected the ball. He helped score a touchdown. He didn't force any plays, didn't throw into double and triple coverage, didn't turn the ball over. He played smart. You look at special teams. Special teams has been horrible for this team. Special teams has been awful. And they were able to break off a 100-yard run from Jamal Agnew. Jamal Agnew also had a punt return that he looked like he could have got loose on and got free and scored. You look at the defense, and the defense, for the most part, held Philadelphia in check all game long. I think the one issue that they had was in the third quarter, the touchdown from Nelson Aguilar, where there was like 2 or 3 blown tackles, and he should have been dead to rights after he caught the ball, but he was able to shake and shimmy and find his way into the end zone. But honestly, this was the most complete game from this team, and not just with the players, but with the coaching staff as well. Darren Bevel did a good job putting a game plan together and taking advantage of Philadelphia. We talked about it. Philadelphia's front line is awesome. It's going to be hard to run the ball against these guys. So what do you have to do? You take advantage of them through the air because they were vulnerable through the air. Marvin Jones had 100 yards. You needed guys to step up big. And Marvin Jones stepped up big. Marvin Jones has basically been MIA for most of the season so far. He had a huge game on Sunday. You had Danny Amendola had a pretty solid game. Kenny Golladay, not as big, but he had a couple timely receptions. So you had guys stepping up and making big plays. And I put that all on the coaching staff for putting them in those positions. You look at what Matt Patricia did. Matt Patricia had one of probably his best games as a head coach. You went on the road, you went to Philadelphia, and you won a big game. And yeah, they're beat up, but you know what? You just take advantage of what you got to play against. And that's what they did. And they didn't find a way to blow this game. And I think that was impressive.
Okay, now we turn and look at the matchup versus KC. Look, I know they're trying to downplay it and say it's not a statement game. It's just like any other game, but
it's a statement game.
Yeah, they're going to be paying attention. Just look at what the Chiefs bring to the table. Great passing attack, a lot of speed all over the place, quality tight end again in Travis Kelce. And cuz at the end of the day, they got their franchise guy who's playing like it. I could not believe the stat, cuz in any game that Patrick Mahomes has played quarterback, they have not scored anything less than 26 points a game. Yeah. Anything less than that, they have not scored. So the guy is balling out, and it's a perfect fit for what Andy Reid and that offense is trying to do. I think Matt Patricia is going to take it upon himself to challenge that team to try and limit, what's going on. But ideally, what you'd want to do is you'd want to kind of, stop Patrick Mahomes and, not let him, run all over the place, really try to get some pressure and really, really try and limit what that offense is going to try to do. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be realistic. And especially now when you might not have a 100% healthy Darius Slay, you might have a situation where the Chiefs rack up a bunch of yards, but you got to limit them when it's, crunch time in the red zone. The idea, I think, is going to be get into a shootout and hope you have the ball last. But within that, I think one strategy that you can look to is if you just go back and watch the film of the Patriots game, what did the Lions do? They ran the ball effectively. They were able to get a lead early in that game. They were able to kind of dictate play to the Patriots. I think that's what they're going to try to do against the Chiefs, is they're going to pound that rock where they can keep Mahomes sitting on his ass on the bench. If you can get 100, the key to the game is going to be if you can get 105 or more rushing yards, then you're going to be able to control the clock. You're going to be able to keep Mahomes and that offense not getting into any rhythm. I think if you can control the game, and really the key for me is going to be you got to score points from the defense. If the defense doesn't score any points, Lions don't win.
I agree with you. Look, you can run on the Chiefs. You can run and you can pass on the Chiefs. So offensively, you've got to take advantage of every single play that you have out there. Me and you were discussing, I think, what was it, on Monday? We're going back and forth. And I told you, look, they've got to score on roughly 80% of their offensive touches of the ball. And they can't just score field goals. They've got to put touchdowns up. So they've got to take advantage every time that offense has the ball. And defensively, you really have to help contain Patrick Mahomes. Your defensive line has to get into that backfield, put pressure on him, hit him, knock him down, rattle him a little bit, force him to turn the ball over. If you can force a couple turnovers and maybe take one to the house, you have a great shot to win this game. That offense is so fast-paced, so dynamic, and they just score at will. It's unreal. Now, the one thing the Lions do have working for them, and this is something that was similar to last week. They've got a lot of guys that are nicked up. Look, Eric Fisher, their offensive tackle, he's out. Tyreek Hill, he's out. Damian Williams, their running back, he's questionable. LaShawn McCoy, their other running back, he's questionable. He had probably his best game since 2007 last week. So he's beat up. So you have the ability to take advantage of these guys, but you've got to force turnovers. You got to limit big plays downfield. And this is where Darius Slay being nicked up really hurts this team. So you've got to limit big plays downfield because they do have wide receivers who can take it to the house and do it quickly. And then you've got to contain guys in that backfield, whether that be Patrick Mahomes, LaShawn McCoy, Damian Williams, whoever it is. You got to contain guys in that backfield. You can't let them get the edge and let them get loose. And then offensively, guys like Matt Stafford, Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay, Kerryon Johnson, these guys all have to step up and have big games. You got to take care of the football, and you got to score touchdowns. You got to put big points on the board. You can't just settle for field goals. You can't get close and then send Matt Prater out there in hopes he kicks it through the uprights, because you can't exchange 7 points for 3 points all game long and expect to win. Now, Kansas City's got to come into your house. Detroit has to score their first time they have the ball. You got to set the tone. You got to get Ford Field rocking. You got to get it jumping. You got to make that place loud. We talk about Detroit in that Chicago Bears game where Detroit went 5-0 and how loud and impactful it was. I remember Javid Best. I was there. Javid Best breaking off that long run and taking it to the house. I couldn't hear myself think. It was insane. It was so loud. And the loudness from the stadium impacted that game multiple times, caused multiple false starts. Guys couldn't hear the cadence. Guys couldn't see what was going on, couldn't hear what was going on because it was absolutely animalistic in Ford Field. The Lions have to score first and get that place geared up and get it pumped up, and that will help play into this game. It's going to be a tough test.
It's going to be a real tough test. So tell us, cuz, how do you see it shaking out? Do you see any scenario in which the Lions win?
I mean, everything I just said, they pretty much have to do. But even all of that, I don't believe Darius Slay is going to be 100%, and I think that's going to impact this team. I think there's just too much offensive strength from Kansas City. I think they're going to take advantage of the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to put a bunch of crooked numbers on the board. I don't see Detroit winning this game.
Yeah. The three key players for me are going to be TJ Hawkinson, Kerryon Johnson, and Mike Ford. Mike Ford is going to be tasked with replacing Darius Slay if he's not going to be able to consistently be out there. Mike Ford has shown that, hey, he's competitive, that he's going to try and learn from every single down. It's his second year. He's kind of gained the confidence of the coaches, so he's going to be tasked with trying to go out there and make some plays. it would really suck if Darius Slay was really limited, but they're going to try to do their absolute best to get him out there. But look to see early on how Mike Ford adjusts, because if it's him, Andy Reid's going to be targeting whoever is going to be the wide receiver that's going to be matched up with Ford. They're going to test him early. No doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I can see Sammy Watkins taking advantage of him. He doesn't have the foot speed or the foot quickness of Darius Slay. 3 guys for me. Trey Flowers, because you have to set that edge. You got to contain the guys in the backfield, and you got to put pressure, and you got to hit the quarterback and the running backs behind the line of scrimmage. Darius Slay, we just talked about how important it is for that secondary to be healthy and to perform, because they've got so many elusive, quick, fast strike wide receivers. And look, Sammy Watkins came into this league as an elite player, and since he's joined Kansas City, he has shown that he's an elite player. So I expected Darius Slay to be lined up with him all game long. If he's going to be injured or limited, that's probably going to change. And then it's got to be Matt Stafford for me. Matt Stafford has to have a game similar to last week where he played 100%. He didn't screw up, didn't turn the ball over. He took care of the rock, and he helped put points on the board. You can't give up the ball. You've got to score at will. You got to be able to put points on the board. So it's those 3 guys for me that are most important this week.
Ooh, great podcast. Love talking football with you, cuz. Want to thank the sponsors. Want to thank everybody that supported the network. Want to thank everybody that supported Adam, myself, in our endeavors. We couldn't do this without you. We love the response. We love the engagement. We know you're watching us during the game. We see the number of tweets. We see the passion you show, and that's what makes this project fun. We'll be at it again this Sunday. Lions, Chiefs, 1 o'clock. Let's see what happens ahead of the bye week. Cuz, enjoy always recording a podcast with you. We'll talk for sure next week.
Absolutely, brother. Be good.
It's not over yet, so you can ask me that one next week.
Go Blue, bitch.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.